Good afternoon. This is Josh Carlisle. This is vlog number one, sitting down with Danielle Carlisle, who's an accounting manager at a manufacturing company. Hello, Danielle. Thank you for sitting down with us this afternoon.
Hello.
Why don't we get started by explaining why accounting?
Well, I actually had started out in customer service with the previous company, and from there I moved into the accounting world, and I was in mainly accounts payable. One of our colleagues was retiring, so I was asked to get my accounting degree, and so I went to U of M. I got my accounting degree.
So you're a U of M alumni.
I am.
Oh, very good, very
I
good.
am. Got my accounting degree and started taking over and trained for the financial analyst position. Was still handling a lot of the accounts payable and did accounting management type activities.
What does a financial analyst do?
Basically, you're analyzing the sales and material, how much inventory movement we've got, direct labor costs, just all kinds of different financial aspects of the company to see where we could save money, where we were losing money. So analyzing the data month to month.
Who requests that type of information?
The controller, the CFO, the president, they need that information so they can report their numbers to corporate headquarters.
Okay.
From there, I decided the company I was working with was a very large company. I wasn't able to make changes that I thought would benefit the company.
Such as?
Oh, there were just some different ways that I thought different processes could be updated to make them flow more smoothly and save us some time, but it required a lot of training and a lot of rewriting of the policies, and I couldn't get everybody on board with me to just do that, so as we were extremely busy.
Okay.
So I wanted to go with a smaller size company, but still stay in the manufacturing environment. It was familiar to me. So I moved on to a smaller company, and I went there as an accounting manager.
When you say smaller company, how many employees at the previous company versus this current company?
The previous company, the place I was leaving, was probably 300 people. And the new company's more around 100.
Okay.
They are a much smaller company, but being that there was only 2 people in the accounting department versus the 5 at the previous company, I was able to come in and learn how they were doing things, and right off the back I found things that we really needed to update that I could do to help the company.
Okay, can you give us an example of something that you just had to implement right away?
Yeah, when I first started, they were only doing paper checks.
When was this? 1980?
Yeah, that's exact. I felt like it took a step back in time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I started there. Actually, it's been almost 2 years now. So it was only a couple years ago that I started, and everything was checks. We paid all of our suppliers by checks.
Like a manual paper check that somebody had to take to the bank.
Exactly.
In the 21st century. Okay, I could see why that would be one of the first things you want to change.
Yeah, that was, I couldn't even believe it. And when I first took it to my boss, who's the controller, and I said, we have to find a way to do electronic payments. I mean, even the employees' expense reports weren't done with direct deposit. So he was very reluctant. He's not one to like change, but I promised him I would handle it and keep him updated, but that we could implement it.
Is resistance to change a characteristic of a controller, or just unique to his personality?
I think it's unique to his personality.
Okay.
I think it's human nature. Everyone's reluctant to change, honestly, because you get stuck in a rut, and that's how you know how to do everything. That's how you want to do things, because that's what you know.
Okay.
Change initially, while maybe better in the long run, it's always hard to make a change.
So you realized relatively quickly that he was resistant to change. So how did you approach it to get him to even entertain the idea?
I assured him that it worked out really well that they were using the exact same bank I was used to using at the previous company.
Okay.
So that in itself, I was able to take to him and go, I already know how it works. I already know how to implement it. I may need some IT support, but you won't have to do a whole lot differently. It's just going to make your life easier. You'll have less times that you have to sign the checks. So I can do this with very little input from you. You just got to give me the reins and let me go.
And he gave you the green light because it would improve things and there wouldn't be a lot of extra work on his end?
Exactly.
Okay, I got
It was a long road because initially it was a very manual process. I had to find a way to contact all of the vendors, all of the employees, let them know that this option's available, get all their bank details, and
How did you let them know that the option was available? Like emails, phone calls?
with all of our suppliers, every single payment run that I did where I was printing checks still, I would print the checks. I had a letter that I made up that said, we have the ability to pay you electronically if you'd like to sign up, and I had in a form, please fill out the attached form, send it back. For our employees, that was a simple email with a letter attached saying their expense reports could be direct deposited into their bank accounts. They didn't have to take the time to go to the bank, cash their check to get the money that they had to use.
Were the employees receptive to the idea?
The employees were ecstatic. They couldn't believe it that finally they were going to be able to be paid with direct deposit. In the end, I was able to get a huge number. I couldn't even tell you how many suppliers instantly set up. So once I built my database and kept track of all of that information, then I contacted our IT department, who unfortunately is in Germany. So
Okay.
I had to try to explain to him how we wanted to do these electronic payments. And in Germany, most of them don't even understand the concept of a paper check. Electronic payments are the only way, so they couldn't believe and didn't realize that we were still only doing paper checks. The IT guy, there was some language barriers. He wasn't quite understanding what I needed from him. So he scheduled a trip to come here from Germany. He spent a couple weeks with me. We had to come up with a way to get our information, to upload a file into the bank, because my boss really didn't like me having a template with the bank account numbers, because I could type in the dollar amounts wrong. Anything could have made a mistake. So
That's a valid concern, but ultimately that's your job, so there has to be a little bit of trust.
well, and he had to approve all of those payments too. So
Okay.
he had the dollar amount that it was supposed to be. He could double check it, but it ended up working out to my benefit, because then now, rather than manually hand entering how much I'm paying each one of these people, I have a file that I can upload directly to the bank. There's no errors. I can't type it wrong. It comes directly out of our system from what I entered and created, and I run
Okay.
it.
So as long as the master data is good, then it pulls it out of the system correctly.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that in itself was huge. We were able to make our payments in a timelier manner. Our vendors were happy. It was much, much better.
Did it save you actual time processing payments and?
It did. I mean, if you think about cutting a check, even your own personal checks, if you write a check out of the checkbook versus scanning your debit card, now you got to record that check in your ledger somewhere to keep track of your balance. You have to go and get an envelope. You got to get a stamp. You got to mail these things out. You got to hope the payment gets there in time before it's late.
Sounds exhausting.
I mean, you can pay online with a credit card, your debit card, it's done instantly. And with the ACH payments, you can have it set up to pay the same day. We didn't opt for that. It comes out of our bank the same day. The supplier has the money the next day. So I was able to cut back to only doing checks once a month because we have so few now.
Why do you still have checks though? Like some people just aren't comfortable with giving you that type of information.
Exactly. You hear about the identity theft, and you have the smaller companies who are saying, there's no way I'm giving you my bank information, which is another issue that Germany doesn't understand, because if you get an invoice from a German supplier, their bank information's right on the bottom of the invoice. They don't, why is this an issue? There shouldn't be a problem, but we all know that identity theft happens.
Yeah.
So I can understand some people are reluctant to it, and some people, their banks, they aren't set up to accept the electronic payments.
Okay. Like
So-
more of a credit union? It couldn't be a larger bank, I'd imagine.
It's the way your accounts are set up.
Oh, okay.
So it usually costs more money to accept the electronic payments. So some people have just not opted to do that because they're a small company. They don't want the extra cost.
Okay. Would you say that that's your biggest project you've done? I know I've heard that you're doing another project, but
Oh, there's always some kind of a project going on.
Yeah.
Currently the expense reports were being done basically in Excel. There was an Excel spreadsheet that you put in the dollar amounts you sent. You kept track of all of your receipts. You taped them to a piece of paper. You stapled this clump of papers together, and you handed it in after your manager signed it. Then you had to wait for accounting to go through, which my job, as fun as it was, somebody got coffee for $1.24, and they got lunch for $3.75, and I had to find every receipt, make sure they had receipts for every single transaction, verify it all, and then I could enter it into the system as an approved for payment.
I'm sure that's something in your wheelhouse, but that seems extremely tedious.
Yeah, so I actually was part of the project of implementing Concur, an expense reporting system.
Is this another large group project? Like you have to get different people involved in order to get this done, or is this more of a you trying to work with Concur to implement it?
This is more, at this point, me working with Concur. I had to get our employees to understand, because they got used to it's easy for them. Here's my receipts, here's my stuff, pay me. For me, I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding.
Right.
Another one. Okay, let me find these and check box it. So I explained to them that they could book their flights online. They could do all this with Concur. They can book a hotel, their flight, their rental cars, which they were doing anyways.
Are you experiencing resistance?
Initially, yes.
Yeah.
I got it implemented. We got all of the accounts, all the stuff set up, but I don't want to use the new system. I had sent out an email to let everybody know our plan is to go live on this date. I need you to log into your account, complete a profile, which basically your frequent flyer miles, your passport number, that kind of stuff. So if you did book a flight that was outside the country, they already had all your information, and it was easy. Unfortunately, people like to procrastinate and didn't log in.
Human nature, yeah.
So the day before the deadline, I don't know how many emails I got. Danielle, I can't get in. I can't log in. The password doesn't work. It's because they waited too long. Password expired, so I had to log back into the system, reset their password. So yeah, there was a trial and error period, but now they're excited. They have an app on their phone. They take a picture of their receipts. It uploads to that system. They go in to do their expense reports. They pick their receipts. It's created. There's an OCR reader, so it reads the receipts for them. It can tell what kind of expense it is. It does the foreign exchange rates. Now they're liking it a whole lot better.
Well, good job bringing this company to the 21st century, I must say.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for your time this afternoon. That was some good information, and hopefully you get some more projects. You sound like you're a little more passionate about implementing projects.
Yeah, I mean, you got your day-to-day jobs, and it's always nice to have a project, especially when you can complete it.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of gratification when you complete it and it's successful and people are happier with it.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know it's been a wonderfully dreary day, but you still took time out of your day, so... Thank you and have a good day.
Thanks, you too.